Hi, welcome back.
Hi everyone,
Here we are.
Back.
Mom Meets World.
Mom Meets World. I'm Khyati Desai-Seltzer, owner of Vyana Infant Massage.
And I'm Angela Eustace, founder of Radiant Heart Center here in Virginia.
Angela, I'm so excited about today's show because we get to talk about what happens around the world.
Around the world.
Postpartum traditions that are amazing, that we can learn from, that we can implement, that are happening all over. So we're going to play a fun game today.
Okay.
One of us is going to take turns spinning the globe, and then wherever we land, we're going to be sharing what happens in that continent or country around postpartum.
Okay, sounds great. And I just want to plug 187 countries around the world have postpartum care built into the transition from woman to motherhood. This is not a new concept. It's been around for hundreds of years, and we're just trying to bring it to the States where we very much need it. So,
absolutely.
Here goes. Who's spinning first?
You spin first.
Okay. Africa.
Woo,
what a big yeah, me too, to start with. So in Africa, every country varies a little bit, but from 10 to 40 days is the resting period for women. After the rest, they have a big celebration in the community where the woman is basically introduced to the community now as a mother. And it's really beautiful because it's the difference, right, between being a woman and a mother. She's presented, her baby is presented, there's dancing, there's food, there's celebration.
That's amazing.
I know.
And in Nigeria, for example, there's a bathing ritual where the grandmother gives the first bath to the baby, and you would think it's for the baby, but it's actually for the mom to say, I support you, you're not alone, we're in this together, which I think is so lovely.
Yeah, because we need to show the new mom that she has that support.
Right, absolutely.
It's awesome. The grandmother does that.
Yeah. What about in Ethiopia, how women dress? Doesn't that change?
In Ethiopia, women wear their hair differently. If you are a woman, you wear your hair in braids. And if you are a mother, you wear your hair in buns, which makes a lot of sense to us because basically what new mother has time to put her hair into braids?
Right.
And then also in Kenya, it's amazing. The mother of the new mother or the mother-to-be moves in with her daughter starting at 6 months to start taking care of her as she's getting ready to enter her third trimester and get ready to birth baby, right? She needs someone to take care of her, nurture her, cook those healthy foods because she's growing bigger. She should be moving around a lot less. And then the mother stays through the whole postpartum period, whatever it is in their country, about 40 days. So,
I love that.
I mean, those are months and months of the mother's mother taking care of her.
Yeah, even before the baby comes.
Right.
There's so much, there's the nesting,
Yeah.
There's the emotional and mentally getting ready for it. But I love in Ethiopia, like you really are acknowledging a woman
Yeah.
for becoming a mother. It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, and it's important because what's cool is like, even if you're walking around through the town, you know mother, woman, mother, by their hair. There's no conversation. It's just, and people treat you differently. There's a higher level of respect for mothers than...
It's like a badge of honor.
It is a badge of honor, yes. And I have to say, the African elephant.
Oh my gosh.
One, they're pregnant for 22 months, so thank God we're not elephants. But two, what's so beautiful is that elephants live in a matrilineal family, and so it's actually a woman, aunts, sisters, it's all females. They call it allo-mothering, and they all take care of the baby elephant. So it is by no means this this female elephant doing it on her own, but she is surrounded constantly by a bunch of other female elephants who have that nurturing ability and are just willing to help out so that when mama needs a break, there are plenty of other people around to support her. One more story about Africa. It's actually by the people of Chaga in Uganda. It says, 3 months after the birth of a child, the Chaga woman's head is shaved and crowned with a bead tiara. She is robed in ancient skin garment worked with beads. A staff, such as the elders carry, is put in her hand, and she emerges from her hut for her first public appearance with her baby. Proceeding slowly toward the market, they are greeted with songs such as those that are sung to warriors returning from battle. She and her baby have survived the first 3 weeks of danger. Wow. The child is no longer vulnerable, but a baby who has learned what love means, has smiled its first smiles, and is now ready to learn about the bright, loud world outside.
That's beautiful.
And I feel like this is so important because it really is this focus on the mom, her coming out into the world as this new woman. She has transitioned from woman to mother, and she is being recognized, honored, and celebrated as a warrior for having gone through this experience and bringing this new baby to life. I just think it's so, so beautiful to me. La 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 la. Oh, Asia, right here. Okay, let's talk Asia.
Asia. So I guess I'll start with India.
Please.
So we talked a little bit about in the first episode about what we do in India, but some other things. So loving touch. So after a woman gives birth, a midwife comes to the home and bathes mom and baby and massages them both for 3 months.
Every day.
Massage mommy and massage baby. So because they understand.
Let's all be Indian.
Right. Let's
Please.
That they've been through a physical and emotional journey.
Right.
And they need help to recover, both of them.
Yeah.
And then, we'll talk a lot more about the importance of loving touch, but the massage, you continue to massage your baby. And then, as I mentioned in my personal story, there's a period of not leaving the house. It can be 30 days, it can be 90 days, but you're protecting the immunity and the brain and the health and energy of baby.
Mm-hmm. And nourishing food too is a big one in India.
Oh,
all the spices,
fenugreek and turmeric, and
warm
fennel,
broths,
lots of warm foods,
mm-hmm.
and there's all these recipes that you have that help you recover physically.
Yeah, and that's a big thing in most Asian countries of the not eating raw foods, warm broths. I know that you use different spices, but I know that in countries like Japan and China, they do a lot more like seaweed soup. In Korea, they do seaweed soup, which is filled with minerals because it's known, like we have to replenish the body. You've just birthed baby and placenta, which had all the nutrients. Basically, the placenta has all the extra nutrients your body didn't give to baby stored in this organ that then also you birth. So speaking of the massaging, they do the same in Malaysia. Depending on, it's called the Patang period, but they basically do either a 30 to 44 day resting, and then a lot of times they have a professional masseuse is hired to come in and massage mom and baby, and then they also do belly binding, which is very common in Asian countries. Again, the idea being, if you think about it in Ayurveda, you have had a baby, this amniotic fluid, and a placenta in body, and all of that gets birthed all at once. And so essentially it's empty cavity, and it can make women feel very light and airy and not grounded. So by binding the belly and pulling this together and holding it tighter, it makes her feel more stable and not so kind of open and exposed. So the masseuse will come and bind the belly. It helps the mom feel more grounded. They do that in Malaysia.
And a lot of South American countries.
And a lot of South American countries. I know in Australia, the postpartum doula I learned from teaches belly binding. I have the Tubi grip to help moms belly bind. If you want to know more.
And in China, they also have a resting period. It's called the Golden Month.
Yeah.
So for 1 month, all they have to do is rest and recover. They eat warm broths, nourishing foods, no raw foods. It has to be warm. Like you said, there's this empty cavity. You're trying to fill it up with warmth.
Yes.
And while you're recovering, you have family members that take care of older kids.
Right.
Which is great because I have only one, but I'm like, how would I recover if I had another baby? And you just do it here because you have a choice. But they have family to take care of that. And then if you are well off, you can
This is amazing. This
go
blows my
to
mind.
a luxury hotel.
A luxury postpartum center, $500 a day women are paying. This is how they know, again, these countries have been around a lot longer than us.
Right.
They value the postpartum period because they know how critical it is. So they are paying $500 a day for postpartum care. It's basically set up like a room where women are bringing you food, taking care of you, and your job is to bond with baby and be loved on. Okay, your turn to spin.
Here we go. Europe.
All right, Europe. Oh my gosh, so many great postpartum traditions here.
Especially around policy.
Around policy, you're right.
So great.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has universal health care, and so Paternity leave and maternity
Yes.
leave is amazing. Fathers usually get at least 6 months. Moms 1 month, 1 year.
Yep.
And then it can vary depending on the job, but your job is guaranteed, you're back. And it says a lot because it's the culture and the community saying, we value family.
Yes.
We're giving you this time to figure it out, instead of in the United States, where often the husband only gets a few days off, maybe a week or two, and then it basically falls on the mom, the new mom, to figure out what their new family looks like.
Right, absolutely.
Oh, okay. So my favorite I have to share in France.
France,
Yes. So in France, they have a place called, well, first of all, the mom gets taken care of. The mom stays in the hospital for 5 days before going home. Then nurses come to the house to check on her, depending on any issues. If she needs blood drawn or any medications administered, the nurse comes to her house to give them to her because she's recovering.
Right.
Speaking of recovering, they have something, it's essentially PT, physical therapy. It's part of the postpartum care. You had a baby, you get 6 weeks of postpartum care for your pelvic floor because most women are birthing vaginally there and they need support in that area.
Yep, they have lower rates of C-sections there and more home births in Europe in general.
Correct. But so there's so many people I've talked to that have gone a year or two with pelvic floor issues, bladder incontinence, all these things, and
because no one helped them when they had the baby.
Right, and I think it's normal because you don't know, you think, oh, this is what my new body is like after having a baby.
Yes.
But it doesn't have to be that way. They know that in France. And so right away, you have a baby and you get 6 weeks of physical therapy for your pelvic floor, which is amazing. And then, this is my favorite. There's lots of things. They have a place called La Crèche, which is basically, again, universal. All babies go to this daycare. And babies can start going to La Crèche when they're 4 months old. Like we were just saying about maternity and paternity, moms usually get at least 6 months. So do the math.
2 months, mom gets
at least 2 months that mom gets to go take baby and then come home and take care of herself, recover on her own, and have a little break before starting back at work if she's going back to work.
Amazing.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Think about it, like all these things, the support that's innately built into the system, how much that makes a difference for these women.
I mean, you just spend some more money on the front end to avoid bigger costs later. And that's both as a country, as a healthcare system for the individual family. Like, then you might have to get surgery in a year, but if you had done the PT or had PT covered, you could avoid surgery. And
then also avoid the year or two of discomfort, pain, and whatever else you were dealing with.
And I mean, in Finland too, right? So in Finland, after a baby is born, and you might have heard of this, they send baby home in a box, essentially. It's not anything elaborate, like a beautiful...
it's safe.
It's safe, right? But it's not like this gorgeous cradle or anything. But it comes equipped with a snowsuit and a hat and a teether and a baby book and food and all the supplies that baby might need in the first few weeks or months.
Yeah.
And it's actually... reduce the number of babies who die from SIDS, and it's a completely safe system. And
and it comes with a little mattress, I think, too.
Yes, mattress.
So that basically the baby can be kept in the parent's room, and we know this through stuff we've learned. SIDS has the highest risk of happening between 0 to 6 months, then it drops off. So even in the United States, they recommend babies sleeping in parents' room for at least the first 6 months because babies sleep better when they hear other breathing. It's automatic, but they're still, and their body is not going to shut down necessarily, but it is possible, and it's more helpful for a baby to hear breathing happening. It's like, oh yeah, breathe.
Right.
In those first 6 months. And then it drastically drops, although still in the United States, I think they recommend even through the first year to keep baby in room. But so having this box, it's portable, baby can move around, right? Be kept next to your bed. If you go out into the other room, if someone's sleeping out there, be right there with you.
And I think there are states in America that are starting to adopt. New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey and Alabama. So I don't know, I'll be real honest, if they have higher infant mortality rates, but I know that those two countries are also starting to implement this, the gifting of the baby box in the United States. So that's cool.
Yeah, so we're learning something.
We are learning something, exactly. Oh, and then I also want to tell you about Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
There's a friend of ours who is from Eastern Europe, and she told us, this is mind-blowing to me, that a mother gets 2 years off. 2 years off paid maternity leave. 2 years. Imagine like how relaxed you could be without worrying that you're not going to be able to be there when your baby rolls over, sits up, starts eating solids, is walking, exploring the world. Like you get to be there for all of it, no pressure because you're still being paid. And then you get the option of an entire 3rd year where you're not paid, but you're guaranteed a job back at your same company.
That's amazing.
The stress in that alone that's alleviated by that ability to be there and take care of your baby during all of those firsts and all of that development is so incredible.
And it's such a disservice in this country because we say, breast is best and feed your baby, but then we don't give them a place to pump. Or we expect them to pump.
I know.
And that's why people struggle pumping because it's not necessarily natural. And if you're stressed out and you're leading a business meeting, I pumped in utility closets and bathrooms and all over the place because that was not my choice. I had to feed my baby, but I also had to go back to work.
And it's stressful too because you pump different amounts than what your baby's able to get out. Babies are much more effective in latching than when you're pumping.
Exactly.
You're not with your physical baby. Especially so many women who are pumping at work are doing work because you want to get home sooner. So you're not in a peaceful, relaxed place thinking about baby.
Yes, exactly.
You're like, I got to get this deadline out, which is limiting your milk supply. There's so many things that go against us when we're
But if you get
trying.
to be home,
but if you get to be home,
worry about all of that.
I know, it's amazing.
You're like a cow.
Oh my God, I remember my dad walking in. He was visiting in the first few days. No, 3 weeks, let's say. And he walked in, he's like, what's that noise? Oh my God. I was like, your daughter turned into a cow. Here I am.
I'm a machine now.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
My turn to spin.
All right.
Up America. So what do we do here? What did we used to do?
Yes, let's talk about what we used to do. So back in the day in colonial America, we had something called a lying-in period, and it lasted 3 to 4 weeks long. Basically, all the female family and relatives that lived around the mom, the new mom, would come and take care of her. They assumed all of her responsibilities, feeding her other children, cooking, cleaning, anything that needed to be done while the mom stayed and rested, learning new baby, taking care of herself or being supported by women, helping take care of herself. And there was no paying, there was no payments made. It was just kind of known if your aunts and moms and sisters help you, at some point you will pay it forward to other women who are having babies. So there was no payment. It was just kind of what the community did. Unfortunately, in the 19th century, when we had the disappearance of the frontier, this tradition went with it. In modern America, we don't have really any set traditions. We do have a 6-week appointment with the doctor after the baby is born. And the reason that 6-week appointment is relevant and connects to what we did in colonial America was it was believed that at that 6 weeks, which we see that common theme in all other countries, at that 6 weeks is when mother has completely healed, uterus is back to its original size, and the mother is kind of ready to fully resume all of her tasks. So I really want to talk about this contrast from colonial America to what we're doing now. Because what ends up happening in our country, we talked about Uganda, for example, that story I shared with the Chaga women. The celebration, all the attention she got was really about after having the baby, after she had recovered and had this resting period and been taken care of by her community. And then she's presented into the world and all the attention is on her. These songs are sung for her. She's welcomed into this new community as a mother. In contrast, in the United States today, we really focus on the pregnant woman. You know, when you see a pregnant woman, you hold the door for her. If you're on a train or a bus, maybe you get off and you let her take your seat. And how are you feeling? Friends call, people ask how she's doing. But then she has the baby, right? And what happens? If you have a vaginal birth, you usually go home 24 to 48 hours after. If you have a cesarean, you're going home 2 to 4 days after. And I don't know if many women are being asked, hey, who's at home? What's your plan? Who's going to take care of you? Is anyone asking women that? we go from mom feeling supported, people throw her a baby shower, people are coming to help set up the nursery or do certain things, and then the baby comes, and oftentimes partner has to go back to work within a week or two, maybe. There's really a terrible, inhumane amount of paternal leave especially, but even maternal leave. And then you have this woman who is now home alone with this new baby who is an individual and has their own needs, but mother and child have not figured out how to communicate with each other. Mom doesn't know how to breastfeed. Mom is responsible for somehow feeding herself, taking care of making sure not only is she feeding herself, but she's supposed to be eating high protein, good fats, getting a nutritious meal in, which when you're home alone, that's not likely happening. But the mom's on her own to figure these things out, and people kind of think, oh, she had the baby, I'll check in on her later, she's probably busy, she's figuring things out, instead of, hey, I'm here, what can I do for you, how can I help you, that's also, how can I help you, takes the person asking kind of off the hook. What we really should be offering women is, hey, I made this delicious soup, I'm gonna bring you some of it for a meal this week. Or I'm at the grocery store, what can I pick up for you because I'm stopping by your house afterwards anyway. Let's make the support we're giving women very tangible and very specific. I'm just sharing this because what happens around the world in so many other countries is the new mother is taken care of. She doesn't have to ask anyone for help. She doesn't have to say, do you think you could stop by or make me this? The community knows she just had a baby and everyone steps forward and takes care of her. And that is part of why we're doing this show, right? I mean, we want to bring this awareness back to women and say, hey, this is how it's happening in the rest of the world, so let's not settle for less.
Okay, now it's my turn?
Yes.
Last turn? Okay, Central America.
Woo, my culture.
Yes.
All right, so my mom's from Honduras, and in most Central American countries, they practice something called the cuarentena. And when I heard that, I originally thought 40 for 40, so that meant this 40-day resting period.
Yeah.
But when I looked it up to be sure, it also says that cuarentena means quarantine, which is, again, like we've been talking about, women are quarantined into their homes, essentially. The families and relatives cook, help take care of their other children. Having sex is a big no-no. Eating spicy foods and washing your hair are all no-nos because they feel like those activities take up too much energy.
Yes.
And they believe also that the uterus takes 40 days to become normal.
I see.
I just want to say too, the uterus goes from the size of a watermelon to a grapefruit again, which is pretty phenomenal.
That's amazing.
So they believe that happens in 40 days, which is why they have the resting period for 40 days.
I love that.
Yeah.
And in Mexico too, they have similar massage.
Yeah, the closing of the bones ceremony.
Closing of the bones. Massage, herbal treatments.
Vaginal steam.
Vaginal steam, yes.
Right? That's how you use it. Because you do this in India too. I don't know if you talked about this.
Yeah, so
or Asia, they don't
steam,
know.
Right, they don't really know the origins. They think it might be Mayan, but it's also called a yoni steam, and yoni in Hindi means vagina, and so we don't know where it originates, but the idea is that you use herbs based on what your needs are, and you essentially sit on there and...
Like a pot.
A pot.
And then steaming water comes up with the herbs and cleanses out.
Cleanses out your uterus.
Okay, my turn to spin. Australia.
Ooh, Australia. In terms of Australia, I want to mention the Aboriginal customs and what is still practiced in a lot of remote and rural communities in the islands and in Australia. So they have a custom called birthing on country, and the idea is that a woman goes back to where she was born to birth her baby. Now, sometimes that can be challenging. There can be obstacles to that because there aren't sufficient maternity services or healthcare in those communities. So in that case, a woman will birth off country, which means she will birth in another place, and many women will also bring a jar of the dirt from the place where they were born, so that the first thing that baby is exposed to is the dirt of essentially their motherland. So I thought that was really special. And they also are really a spiritual community, and so they believe that it's a physical experience. They also believe that it's a very significant spiritual experience. So they'll have a smoking ceremony to welcome baby. there will be things that they can eat. They're really encouraged to eat fish and to avoid certain foods. And so similar to the other customs that we've talked about, the Aboriginal community also really places an importance on food and on health and on the spirituality of birth. And another way they do that is with the placenta. And so in many Aboriginal communities, they will actually bury the placenta, which is not uncommon in other countries. So Angela, lots of great things. We have so many other countries I'm sure we didn't even get to talk about. We might have to do a part 2.
We might have to.
But what are some universal themes? Like, what is our summary of today? What are we learning that most cultures have been doing for thousands of years that we can learn from?
5 things.
Okay.
1 is the resting period. It's essential. Every country does it. They know how important it is for the mother to completely recover and replenish, so they do a resting period.
Okay.
Number 2, loving touch.
Yes.
Super important.
Massage has been so common.
Yeah, and you think about it, if you feel isolated, you always feel better if someone hugs you or touches you. Number 3, nourishing foods. Warm foods, no cold foods, no raw foods. Really important that they be high nutrient dense, and really no junk food because it's empty calories and your body already has all this empty space, so you want to fill it as much as possible with as many nutrients as you can. Number 4, a community and support of wise women and spiritual companionship, because this is a transition and we feel often isolated. And so in order to be supported, you need to be around women who've already been through this or who are nurturing, because women are by nature, and just feel loved and support. And I have to share this story. There was a story about a gorilla in Ohio, and it birthed a baby, but it was born in captivity, so it had never seen any other mothers or gorillas.
Wow.
It birthed the baby, but it didn't know how to breastfeed it because it had never seen any others. And so it started to look at all the mothers coming with the babies to the zoo, and she started holding the baby facing outward.
Wow.
And as we know, you can't feed a baby that way. And so unfortunately, her baby died. Then they realized she has never seen it before, and so she needs to be supported. She got pregnant again, and they called La Leche Ligan, and they invited these women to come and sit around with her. And just by watching women who were going through the same thing, the gorilla turned her baby towards her and fed the baby. And so we need to see it and have people there. We learn just by being in community. And so it is so important to be around other women, wise women who've experienced it, who are willing to be there, where you can be vulnerable but feel supported. Oh, I love that story.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I had to share. And then number 5 is connecting with nature. And we say this all the time, like, get outside for a walk, fresh air, sunshine. A new perspective can make a world of difference.
Water can be incredibly healing.
Water,
Baths and showers.
Yes, warm.
Yeah.
After a while, though, because a lot of cultures don't do bathing, they want the mom to stay warm.
Yes.
So after a while, but connecting with nature is so important. We are from nature.
Yeah.
For me, one thing I'm always doing is taking my shoes off and just walking around in the grass when I feel a little too out of sorts. Just putting my feet, it grounds you. So those are the 5 things, and I'll recap because I threw a story in. Number 1 is resting period. Number 2, loving touch. 3, nourishing foods. 4, community, wisdom of women around you. And number 5, connecting with nature. So important. We really want to help. If you're not sure how to implement these things, or you just want ideas, or you want to be part of our community, which we would love because that's why we're creating this.
Yes.
Let us know. Join us.
And you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram, or reach out to us via email. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, and if you can comment below and let us know, do you have any traditions from your culture?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, we would love to know that. So please comment below, let us know. We're so grateful you were here. As they say, there ain't no hood like the motherhood. See you next time.
Bye,
Thanks so much
guys.
for joining.